Oh my gosh, I'm sorry. I didn't hit the go live. I thought I was live. I'm sorry. Uh, there's a little thing up in the top that says go live, a little blue button that says go live. And I forgot to hit that. And I was saying, can you guys hear me? I'm sorry I'm late because I was just a couple minutes late, not very much. Lisa, Margot, are you guys here? I can't. Hi, Denise. Okay. Hi, happy Easter. How you all doing? Did you have a nice Easter? Margot, Shirley. Hi, Jennifer. Happy Easter to you. I hope everyone had a nice time with your family. I hope you ate lots of good food. Hi, Larky. Margot, are you still here? Lisa H., are you still here? Hi, Shirley. Very nice. You missed church, though. Glad you're here, Margot. Guess what I want to read? Remember the book Dandy sent me, you guys? This old book from 1923 or 27 or something. A second grade reader. Hi, Linda Gelb. Hi, Billy Jones. Hi, Tracy Kloss. Yeah, it's just a second grade reader, but it's really cute. It's different, you know. I want to read some of it and show you the drawings. It's just so interesting, I think. I love touching it. I like to think of what little kids read out of this and what happened to them. What were their lives like? Hi, Haley Ryan. You're wonderful too, Tracy. Stick around. Don't go. It was nice. We had ours yesterday. It was nice. We had the family, kids. It was lovely. See? Horton Carey, book one. It's much more involved than I remember my second grade reader being. Remember first grade we had Run, Jane, Run. See Puff, run. Spot, run. Run, Spot. Run, run, run. This is from, let me make sure I have the right year. This is grade 2 reader by Edith Horton, Principal Public School, New York City, and Annie Carey, Assistant Principal, Public School, New York City, with illustrations by Frederick Richardson. D.C. Heath and Company, Boston, Atlanta, New York, San Francisco, London, Chicago, and Dallas. Let's see, it is falling apart. They are beautiful in the book. The I Can Read books, I remember those. Okay, Tracy, tell your daughter I said hi. Tell her to listen to me read sometime. Get her to subscribe. Tell her she'll learn so much. Yeah, guys, it's 1927. Oh, wow. Listen to what the preface of the book. Look at the little illustration right there. And I'm going to read the preface. Yeah, where'd it go? I'm on StreamYard, so it's backwards. Okay, this is a little interesting. Hi, Sherry. Okay, you do that. That's fine. The book fairs, yes, me too. Always went to mine when I was a kid, then my kids, and now I went to my grandkids. This book may be used with any basal primer. It consists of a systematic series of lessons designed to quicken desirable habits in the art of reading. The vocabulary is consonant with the Thorndike word book. To this first reader, the child comes equipped with a limited number of sight words and the ability to discover new words by means of phonics. The eye quickly recognizes a word by its form outline, but the mind does not analyze unless obliged to do so. Words may be called the verbal bricks with which we build our phrases and construct our sentences. They should be beautiful, glorious, and inspiring. The child's familiarity with home environment and with the beauties of nature, combined with his eagerness to use his newly acquired power, opens the pathway to the literary whole. The stories are arranged with the hope of securing maximum results with minimum effort, thereby leaving room for the play of imagination. Based as they are on scientific principles, they reduce mechanics to the minimum, leaving the foreground for expression, interpretation, and dramatization. I can pronounce that. I just can't right now for some reason. Hi, Felicia. Happy Easter. As the joy of reading comes from a recognition of what we know, the child is led little by little to interpret the classic and is thus lovingly introduced to the art gallery of language. Thanks are due Mr. Frederick Richardson for permission to adapt the story of Happy Hopper. I have to be careful because a lot of these pages are coming out. Good morning, sun. Do you come from the sky? Who are you? Where is your home? Good morning to you. Good morning, Jack. Who are you? Where do you live? Do you come from Wide Awake Land? Good morning to you. Look at this. Look at the This came out, so I'll just hold it up. Here's the illustration for that. So much work is put into that. Look at that. Look at how beautiful, I think. Hi, Mary. I so wish my granny was still alive. I'd love to be able to show her these things and ask her, did you have these kind of books? The Wide Awakes. Who is Wide Awake? What is his name? Where does he live? Does he go to school? Who is he? Is it Sleepy Tom? Is it Lazy Joe? Is it Tardy John? Is it Mary Slow? Is it Happy Flo? No. It is not Sleepy Tom. It is not Lazy Joe. Look at this, how cute. I just really love these illustrations. Hi, Janae Ann. I'm not going to read the whole book right now or anything. I'm just browsing through it a little bit, and then I'll read some supernatural stories or spooky ones. And then it says, Jack, 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 come back, 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 and hear the old duck go quack, quack, quack. No, I will not go back, back, back to hear the old duck go quack, quack, quack. Come one and all, come great and small, come see this house. See, this is the house that Jack built. I used to love that story. Are you guys interested in this at all, or you just want me to get right to the spooky stuff? Which is kind of spooky and kind of not. I'm still going to read it. I want to read the house that Jack built. This is the house that Jack built. Look at this. Shell still, yeah, and this is a second grade book, a second grade reader, Janae Ann, from 1927. This is the house that Jack built. This is the malt that lay in the house that Jack built. This is the rat that ate the malt that lay in the house that Jack built. Again, I apologize for this image. It's hard to do this on StreamYards. I don't even know why I did StreamYards instead of just straight YouTube. I know why I did, though, because you only get a certain amount each month that you can stream on StreamYards when you're on the free plan. And that's what I do, the free plan. And so I knew I was just about running out. It runs out on the 19th. So I thought, I'm just going to do it on StreamYards. These pictures are kind of scary. I think I would have been scared when I was a kid. This is the cat that killed the rat, that ate the malt, that lay in the house that Jack built. This is the dog that worried the cat, that killed the rat, that ate the malt. Look at the rat being killed. Wait. Well, there's the dog and the cat. Look at that dog. His fur's all, he's into it. And then can't get it. This way. Can you see the dead rat? He killed the rat. They did, didn't they, Felicia? I really think they did. Now this one looks scary here. That lay in the house that Jack built. This is the cow with the crumpled horn that tossed the dog, that worried the cat, that killed the rat, that ate the malt, that lay in the house that Jack built. Look at the picture. Look at that dog being tossed. They probably wouldn't allow that, would they? In today's world, the second grade picture, would they? This is the maiden all forlorn that milked the cow with the crumpled horn, that tossed the dog, that worried the cat, that killed the rat, that ate the malt, that lay in the house that Jack built. The pony Spot? Really? We had a dog Spot in our book. Dick and Jane. It would have scared me, I know that, Jennifer. This is the man all tattered and torn that kissed the maiden all forlorn, that milked the cow with the crumpled horn, that tossed the dog, that worried the cat, that killed the rat, that ate the malt, that lay in the house that Jack built. Here's the man all tattered and torn. Hello, Joe. Dick and Jane. Yeah, as a kid, I did too. Wow, this goes on for a while. Let's see. This is the priest, all shaven and shorn, that married the man, all tattered and torn, that kissed the maiden, all forlorn, that milked the cow with the crumpled horn, that tossed the dog, that worried the cat, that killed the rat, that ate the malt, that lay in the house that Jack built. We'll go to the story, supernatural stories, right after this, guys. Hi, Nana Patty. I just love this old reader. This is the cock that crowed in the morn, that waked the priest all shaven and shorn, that married the man all tattered and torn, that kissed the maiden all forlorn, that milked the cow with the crumpled horn, that tossed the dog, that worried the cat, that killed the rat, that ate the malt, that lay in the house that Jack built. This is the farmer sowing his corn, that kept the cock that crowed in the morn, that waked the priest all shaven and shorn, that married the man all tattered and torn, that kissed the maiden all forlorn, that milked the cow with the crumpled horn, that tossed the dog, that worried the cat, that killed the rat, that ate the malt, that lay in the house that Jack built. The cock doth crow to let you know, if you be wise, 'tis time to rise. Remember Linda Gelb was talking about the roosters all crowing the other night with the full moon? Isn't that pretty though? I'm going to stop right there. I'm going to get to some regular stories, but This one talks about, and there came a fox and ate the cat that ate the cock that crowed in the morn and awoke the old man. And there came a wolf and ate the fox that ate the cat that ate the cock that crowed in the morn and awoke the old man. Here's a couple more pictures I'll show you. They're super cute, I think, done so well. Yeah. There we go. Isn't that nice, though? Happy little Easter stories, right? And this book has how many pages? 174 pages. The colors are beautiful. Okay, Nana Patty. Hi, Liz Tops. Hi, Video Reel. Okay. We're going to do some haunted highways again. And I want to read maybe one of these 101 supernatural stories from an older book. But they're kind of hard to understand. Because, they're kind of written in that older way. But I think I saw one that didn't look like it would be too hard. Okay, let's try this one. Hi, Debbie. Let's see how many smart people are here that can actually pay attention to this story. And I include myself in that. These are very old stories, like back in Charles Dickens' day, a lot of them. The old priest was silent for a moment. The song of a great bee boomed up out of the distance and ceased as the white bell of a flower beside me drooped suddenly under his weight. I have not made myself clear, said the priest again. Let me think a minute. And he leaned back. We were sitting on a little red-tiled platform in his garden, in a sheltered angle of the wall. On one side of us rose the old irregular house with its latticed windows and its lynched roofs culminating in a bell. I'm already getting bored. I'm sorry. Sorry. Let me see. I have to be in the mood, I had a pet rooster with one eye when I was a kid. His name was Jesse. Aw. Let me see. I'm just going to go to Haunted Highways. I'll have to look through this more. Can you guys believe I ordered another book, okay? And it looked like it was different than the one was reading from. The number was different and everything on it. Turns out it's the exact same book, and it's in hardcover. Can you believe that? I've ordered the same book, and I was so happy to get this. It's the same freaking one. Okay, we're going to read about James Dean. How about that? Anybody remember James Dean? The Curse of Little Bastard. Just another celebrity death. But is it possible that the car in which James Dean was fatally injured was actually responsible for the accident? Could the car have been cursed, or even, as some suggest, possessed by an evil spirit? After Dean died, the car was involved in several other deaths and injuries. Is it possible that they weren't all merely accidents? You be the judge. Thank you, Felicia. It stayed nice for one more day. Today's the last day. It maybe lasts for 2 days, okay? When I wash it and blow dry it, which I've been told to keep doing, to try to do so. And it's super long I'm going to get it cut by Carolyn Connor, get it trimmed again, all these bangs hanging. But yeah, I ordered the same book. Okay. Flat for as far as the eye could see. Fresh off filming his last scenes for Giant, the 24-year-old movie star was finally free to drive as fast as he dared and his wheels could carry him. Here, over the grapevine, through the narrow mountainous pass north of LA, California's Central Valley lay wide out in front of James Dean. California's Central Valley, this is migrant worker territory. Dean could see them out sweating in the fields as they picked crops under the forgiving midday sun. Not for me, thought Dean. He wanted his life to be full and fast. He zoomed past the dusty farming community of Bakersfield. In the passenger seat beside him, Dean's mechanic, Rolf Wutherick, smiled. The silver Porsche 1550 Spider was only one of 90 made. Wutherick knew what the machine was capable of and was eager to see Dean test its limits. Wutherick had just finished checking out the Porsche that morning back at Competitive Motors, readying it for the racing event in Salinas to which they were headed. Should we load it on the trailer then, the mechanic asked. The engine had been fine-tuned, and he didn't want to risk overheating it with a long drive up the coast. Nah, said Dean. I want a little more time to get used to her before the race. I have to see what she can do. Dean always had a fascination with speed. As soon as he had landed his breakout role of Cal Trask, the rebellious son of a domineering, disapproving father in East of Eden, Dean bought his first sports car, a bright red MG TD. He also bought a station wagon, the white Ford Country Squire Woody that was now bringing up his rear. Normally, the wagon would have been towing the Spider to Salinas instead of pulling the empty flatbed, but Bill Hickman, a friend and stuntman from Giant, had agreed to drive it to the Speedway, and Sanford Roth, who was there to do a photo spread on Dean and the race, was along for the ride. Hello, whisper to me. Dean's car had been customized by George Barris, who would become famous for his modifications of racing cars and hot rods. as well as his design for TV's Batmobile. The silver body of Dean's Spider was set off with red stripes over its rear wheel wells. The seats were Scottish tartan, and a large 130 was numbered in black on the front, sides, and back. The car looked so hot that Dean had the car's nickname, Little Bastard, lettered underneath the license plate. Little Bastard indeed. From the start, Barris thought the vehicle had a weird feeling of impending doom. Nick Adams, who had appeared with Dean in Rebel Without a Cause and would later go on to star in TV's The Rebel, was also uneasy about the car. So too was Dean's uncle, Charlie Nolan. Then just a few days before leaving for Salinas, Dean met Alec Guinness and couldn't help but show off his new racer. He was surprised by the renowned British actor's reaction. "So what do you think, Mr. Guinness? She's a beauty, isn't she?" "That car is sinister, my boy. Sinister. Mark my words. If you get in that car, you will be found dead in it in less than a week. You will be found in it in less than a week. You will be found dead in it in less than a week." Sorry. That had been September 23rd, 1955. Now, just 7 days later, Dean was tearing northward up Highway 99. He had come a long way from his modest beginnings. When he was just a boy, his father had moved his family from Indiana, where Dean was born, to Santa Monica, California. There, Dean's mother died of cancer when he was only 9. His father, feeling incapable of raising his son himself, sent him back to Fairmount, Indiana, to be reared by the young boy's aunt and her husband. Despite being brought up in their conservative household, Dean dreamed of fast cars and acting in the theater. I know my parents have been there to Fairmont, Indiana, to look at whatever they have there for James Dean, all the memorials and whatnot. I know we've seen the sign when we've been down south, but we never stopped that I remember. After graduating from high school, Dean traveled back to California, where he wound up majoring in drama at UCLA, a move that would further alienate him from his father. But Dean had decided on his life's course, and in 1951, he dropped out of college to become an actor full-time. A few bit roles on television and some small parts in movies followed, but it wasn't until he moved to New York later that year that Dean's career really began to take off. He was accepted into the prestigious Actors Studio, studying method acting, the same naturalistic technique employed by such actors as Marlon Brando and Montgomery Clift. In 1954, after appearing on several live television dramas, Dean got a role in the Broadway adaptation of Andre Gide's book, The Immortalist. He won a 1954 Theatre World Award for his portrayal of Bashir, a blackmailing Arab houseboy, and Hollywood took notice. So it was back to California for Dean. But this time, it wasn't for some walk-on. Instead, he was to star in the screen version of John Steinbeck's novel, East of Eden. The part seemed written with Dean in mind, a disobedient outsider yearning for the love of his father. Under the direction of Elia Kazan, Dean turned in a performance that was to win him an Academy Award nomination. No one at the time could have predicted that Dean would receive 2 back-to-back Oscar nominations in 1956 for Eden and in 1957 for his supporting role in Giant, or because both films were released after his death. that he would receive the nominations posthumously. Posthumous. I know how to pronounce that too. Just not right now. Even before Eden came out, Dean had given in completely to his passion for sports cars. He traded up from his high-speed MG to an even faster 1500cc Porsche Speedster. And by 1955, he was driving in racing competitions in Palm Springs, Santa Monica, and Bakersfield. Meanwhile, Dean was filming his second movie in what was to become his signature role, the brooding, troubled teen hero of Rebel Without a Cause. But even while the film was being shot, Dean's obsession with speed and automobiles continued unabated. He traded in his Speedster for the vehicle that would eventually be his last, the 550 Spider. I'm not out of control, thought Dean, back on the highway to Salinas. And maybe if I am a little. Sorry, turn that down. If Carolyn goes live, let me know. I don't think she'll go live for a while, though. We were on the phone right before I went live. And they were getting ready. They were making spaghetti and meatballs. They were going to be eating real soon. I'm not out of control, thought Dean, back on the highway to Salinas. And maybe if I am a little, it's the studio's fault. After all, they didn't stop me from racing while I was filming Giant. I'm just making up for lost time. But Warner Brothers knew what they had done, and they were protecting their investment. Dean was a valuable commodity. They didn't want him hurt. Now, with work on Giant complete, Dean knew he was simply letting off a little steam. And what harm could that do? Salinas was just another race like all the others. And the trip there was a piece of cake. I got to get this book comfortable. It keeps making me lose place. Okay, here we go. Crossing into Kern County around 3:30 that afternoon, Dean knew he was driving over the speed limit, but so what? 65 in a 55 mile per hour zone? Everyone does that, but that didn't stop a highway patrol officer from pulling over both the Spider and the wagon, which was still following closely on Dean's tail. Once the patrolman was out of sight, Dean shrugged off the ticket and revved up his engine. This time he really let loose, leaving the wagon far behind, much to the frustration of Roth, who had hoped to get some action photos of the young star cruising out on the open highway. Dean stopped briefly to gas up at Blackwell's Corner, where he ran into fellow sports car driver Lance Reventlow. He then turned west on U.S. Route 466, now 46, toward Colame. From there, it would be a straight shot to U.S. Route 1. Then he'd take the Pacific Highway coast on the last leg up to Salinas. They were only a few hours away, so Dean slowed down and settled in. No need to hurry now. If he stayed at the speed limit, maybe Hickman would catch up to them before they hit the ocean. Let me get a quick drink here. Hi, Mama Ames. Good night. Hey, Nicole Griffith. Okay, let's see. 23-year-old Cal Poly student Donald Turnipseed was traveling home to Tulare, going east on the same highway as Dean, driving his 1950 black and white Ford Custom Tudor Coupe. An ordinary day, and the road seemed perfectly clear. Love you too, Nicole. Even with the setting sun in his eyes, it was about 5:30 p.m. Dean could see the Ford Coupe. Was it going to cut in front of him? Dean turned to Weatherick and said, "That guy's got to stop. He'll see us." But the Porsche was slung low, and its silver color blended into the shimmering roadway. To Turnipseed, the Spider was invisible. The student cut sharply to the left, forking onto State Road 41, and at the last moment he saw the Porsche, but it was too late. The two cars hit at full speed. Weatherick was flung out of the car, breaking his jaw and sustaining other injuries in the collision. Turnipseed, amazingly, also survived the crash with only a slash on his forehead and a battered nose. But Dean was not so lucky. I got one of those pop-ups I couldn't see. Hi, Sassy Darcy. Beep, beep. The Spider was crushed, with Dean incurring a broken neck and massive internal injuries. He was removed from the twisted wreckage, transferred to an ambulance, and taken to Paso Robles War Memorial Hospital, where he was pronounced dead on arrival at 5:59 p.m. See, I always thought James Dean died here in Indiana. I never have really followed him that much. And he died the year I was born, so I just never really... And he didn't really make that many movies, but he is a legend, isn't he? How ironic that just a couple weeks earlier, Dean had filmed a 30-second commercial for the National Highway Safety Committee. Interviewed by actor Gig Young, Dean made a play on words of the then popular phrase, "The life you save may be your own." Hi, Kevin. I remember that saying. Anybody else remember that? The life you save may be your own. He looked directly into the camera and quipped, "Take it easy driving. The life you save may be mine." Hi, Davida. Be careful driving. We're reading about James Dean right now, Davida. The words had just come back to haunt him. With his life cut off at such an early age, the movie star entered immortality to become a cult icon, forever young. Yes, the body may have perished, but his fame lives on, and so too may his ghost. Dean was interred in the family plot at Park Cemetery back in Fairmont, Indiana. Ever since, visitors have claimed to sense Dean's spirit hovering around his grave. Also, to this day, motorists passing through intersections of Highway 46 and 41 outside of Colame report hearing screeching tires, crunching metal, and shattering glass. The crossroads was officially named the James Dean Memorial Junction in 2005. But there's much more to the story. The spirit of the little bastard may live on as well, and if so, it is definitely wicked. At least 2 other people would die, and several more be maimed before the haunted car was through. George Barris bought the crumpled Spider. He had no illusions about ever reconstructing it, but he knew any undamaged parts would still be quite valuable. It was under his ownership that little bastard claimed its next victims. While the car was being loaded onto a trailer to bring it back to LA, the Porsche slipped and broke a mechanic's leg. Little Bastard was just getting started. The first salvage had tragic results. Barris sold the refurbished engine and powertrain to two doctors, Troy McHenry and William F. Eskridge, respectively, who installed them who, who installed them in their personal street rods. While racing at the Speedway in Pomona on October 2nd, 1956, Eskridge misread the banking on a curve and was seriously hurt when his car rolled over. The vehicle McHenry was driving spun completely out of control and crashed into a tree, killing him instantly. Hi, easily distracted. Happy Easter. I never knew any of this either, Jennifer. Little Bastard's two undamaged tires were sold and placed on another car, but they blew out simultaneously, nearly causing the driver to crash. The next victims of the curse were thieves trying to strip the car. While attempting to steal the steering wheel from the flattened Porsche, one young man had his arm slashed open by a piece of jagged metal. Later, another robber was hurt when he tried to make off with the blood-stained driver's seat. Enough was enough. Barrister decided to put the wreckage into permanent storage before anyone else could be hurt. But the California Highway Patrol had other plans. The CHP was about to send out a highway safety exhibit around the state, and with Dean's death still fresh in the public's mind, they asked permission to put the car on display. How could Barris refuse? From the start, the exhibition had problems. The garage in which the mangled Porsche was being stored burned to the ground, destroying everything inside, except the remains of the Spider, which was barely hurt by the flames. Now that's weird. At the display's second showing at a high school in Sacramento, the car slipped off its tracks and broke a student's hip. Ooh. Moving the Porsche from one town to another became a nightmare all its own. En route to Salinas, the truck carrying the car went out of control, and the driver, George Barkis, spilled out. Little Bastard rolled off the truck and crushed him before he could get out of the way. Other incidents continued to occur. In 1958, a different truck carrying the Spider was parked on a hillside when it fell out of gear and rolled down into a car. While on display in New Orleans in 1959, the Porsche broke apart into several pieces for seemingly no reason. At least two other times, the car slipped off its mountings while being carried on the back of other vehicles. Shards flying off the trucks transporting Little Bastard smashed windshields on a highway in Oregon. Accidents? Perhaps the strangest part of the Little Bastard legend is its disappearance. In 1960, the wreck was placed on display by the Florida Highway Patrol. Afterward, it was shipped back to Los Angeles. But when the truck carrying it arrived, the car was gone. Whether Little Bastard had never actually been loaded onto the truck or whether it was stolen on the way remains a mystery. But even after it vanished, Little Bastard may have claimed more victims. Some say its curse extended to several of Dean's associates who died in violence, unusually young, or both. Perhaps consumed by the memories of that afternoon in 1955, Woderick attempted suicide several times before being killed in a car accident himself in 1981. Oh, that just gave me the chills. Reventlow Reventlow died in a plane crash. Then there were Dean's fellow actors in Rebel Without a Cause. Natalie Wood died in a boating accident at the age of 43. Sal Mineo was 37 when he was stabbed to death in a West Hollywood alley. And Nick Adams died of a drug overdose at 36. Were all these occurrences just freakish coincidences, or was the car actually cursed? Or, as some believe, was it inhabited by some sort of malevolent being, much like the Chrysler Fury in Stephen King's horror novel Christine? Perhaps we'll never know. That is, unless Little Bastard is still out there somewhere, waiting and watching, biding its time until it makes its nightmarish return. Ah. Ooh. Part 4 is called Lost Souls. Wow, we've already gotten this far? Okay, I might have skipped a couple though. Okay. All right, yeah, I think I've skipped a few. Okay. That's good. Usually the soul passes on to its reward on the other side. Some, however, get trapped here and never seem to be able to take that highway to the beyond. To wrap up our survey of haunted roadways, we have a motley collection of spooks, including cowboys, Indians, and fair maidens from the Old West, phantom riders on horseback, an Irish rascal who danced with the devil, then lived to regret it, and a busload of ghostly children who help out strangers stranded on railroad tracks. Finally, we'll get our kicks on Route 66. Oh, on Route 666, the highway to hell. Ew, Route 666? Is that a real thing? I guess it is. Route 66, but never heard of Route 666. Okay. This one, chapter 18, you don't know Jack. Okay. I never heard of it. Creepy shite, for real. Alicia, are you here? Alicia? Alicia? Felicia? Felicia? Felicia, baby soul. Do they really, Felicia? I love railroad tracks and trains. I look like a granny with these, don't I? I had to go to Dollar General and get a couple pairs. My pink one's busted last night. My favorite ones. And I can't see out of the other ones that I have here. Really? Well, we're going to be reading about them. Maybe, Jennifer. Maybe. Hi, a heart made wise. I know the story of the children helping people over the tracks. Ooh. Ooh. Okay, chapter 18, You Don't Know Jack. Halloween, the night when the veil between the spirit world and our own is thinnest, and all manners of ghosts, goblins, and ghoulies can cross over. It's the time for trick or treat, dunking for apples and carving pumpkins. That jack-o'-lantern seems to be grinning innocently enough on your front porch, but at night might not be as harmless as it seems. It may actually be the tortured ghost of old Jack, the unfortunate soul doomed by the devil to wander the earth forever. I've never heard that. Oh, wait a minute. Where were we? Right there. I'm sure everyone has stories of creepy railroad tracks. No, not really. Let me see if, do you want me to skip to that? Want me to skip to the railroad tracks? Or should I make you guys wait till another time? It's Easter, so I'll be nice. Won't make you wait. I can find it. Oh, guys. 666, the highway to hell, and the sign of beast are totally unrelated, of course. It says. Yeah, it's just somehow, it says that the Devil's Highway, the labeling as Route 666, has a much less exciting explanation. And they go into the explanation. Okay, let me find. Okay. Chapter 24 is Children of the Tracks. Ooh, okay, we're going to read it. The tragedy occurred more than 50 years ago along an unremarkable railroad line in southern Texas. Ever since, a group of spirit children has been on the ready there 24 hours a day to push your car to safety if you get stuck on the tracks. The railroad tracks lay in a straight line, set on a low, slightly raised strip of land in a nondescript rural area just outside San Antonio. They were easy to find. Gina exited I-410 onto Villamain Road and headed south. To her left, trees bordered the other side of the rails. To her right, the empty parcels were covered in shrubs and low grass, not a house or building in sight. In less than a mile, she came to the turn. Villamain ended as it made a sharp 90-degree bend to the left. At that point, as the street passed over the haunted tracks, it became Shane Road. She slowed to a stop before crossing over and pulled off to the right shoulder. Gina got out and looked across the tracks. The road was flat, but she could see only a few hundred feet down Shane. Then, there it curved to the left, and she knew that somewhere, just out of sight, the street fed directly into a brand new housing development. The short lanes dividing the homes had names like Laura Lee, Richie Otis, Bobby Allen, Nancy Carroll, and Cindy Sue. If she were to continue on, it was only a hop, skip, and a jump over to I-37, which would take her down to Corpus Christi. But from where she was standing with no buildings in sight, it was hard to believe she was less than 10 miles from downtown San Antonio. That being said, she was far from alone. About a half dozen vehicles had already queued up, waiting without complaint to experience one at a time, the ghostly hands pushing their cars across the tracks. Gina had come very early in the day. She knew that once darkness fell, especially now in the middle of the hot Texas summer, there would be a line, probably extending back out of sight. There was also a squad car or two of bemused policemen sitting off to one side to make sure everything ran smoothly and peacefully. But no one was ever there to cause trouble. Or if they were, it seemed that once people got there, they were hushed into silence, caught up in the spell of the place. Gina knew only the bare bones of what had taken place all those years ago. Back in the 1930s or 1940s, a busload of children was making its regular run through the intersection. There was no flashing lights, and to this day, warning gates don't lower in front of the tracks as a train speeds by. Nothing seemed amiss, but perhaps the sun was in the driver's eyes, or the afternoon heat, rising off the tarred railroad ties, made it too hazy to see the engine off in the distance. Whatever the reason, the driver couldn't tell that a train was barreling down on them, and the bus started over the tracks and stalled halfway across. The impact was fast and catastrophic. The train smashed into the side of the bus, pushing it several hundred yards down the tracks before pushing it off to one side in a tortured mass of crumpled steel. Oh my gosh. All 10 children aboard, as well as the bus driver, were killed. Oh my gosh. Today, those kids are memorialized nearby. Their names: Laura Lee, Richie Otis, Bobby Allen, ... To the community, the tragedy was unforgettable. And to the students on that ill-fated bus, it's also, in a sense, everlasting. To this day, it's said that if you stop your car on the tracks, even voluntarily, the ghosts of those children will push your car to safety to prevent the horror that had killed them from ever happening again. And if you're brave enough to dust the back of your car with talcum powder before making the crossing, afterward you'll find the tiny phantom handprints on your trunk and bumper. Okay, we did read something about this in one of the other books, but I had forgotten about it. It's creepy. Gina drove across the tracks and got into line. She knew the spectral phenomenon worked only if you were on Shane facing Villamane. Was that the direction the bus was heading when the awful accident occurred? As she stood outside her car, sprinkling her rear fender with powder, she could see the cars ahead of her getting ready to make their move. Amazingly, you didn't even have to park your car on the tracks for the miracle to transpire. In fact, the sensation was even more dramatic if you stopped your car 20 or 30 feet in front of the tracks and just let the phantom children do the rest. At last, it was her turn. Gotta get another drink. Gina set her car in neutral and waited. At first, nothing. Then there was a distinct lurch, as if some huge invisible force had grabbed her car and then given it a single hard push from behind. Then slowly, ever so slowly, the vehicle started to roll. It was almost like magic. The 3,500-pound Mustang was moving on its own. She had dutifully stopped the car in front of the railroad tracks, but now, somehow, the car was drifting forward. The front tires rolled up the small incline of the track bed onto the first rail, then inched ahead a bit more until the two axles were straddling the train tracks. This must have been the position the stalled bus had been in when the locomotive plowed into it, Gina thought. Worried, she looked up and down the tracks extending on both sides. Had the ghosts pushed her onto the tracks only to have her repeat their hideous past? But there was no need to panic. The car continued to advance until, with a satisfying and palpable release, it rolled down off the tracks. It was over. I didn't either, Davida. I didn't know all that about the car. Gina sat stunned, overwhelmed for a few seconds. Then, suddenly aware of the people in the vehicle behind her waiting to take their turn, she started up her car, made the turn back onto Villamane, and pulled off to the side. She had to check. Warily, she walked along the side of her car back to the trunk. She was almost afraid to look down. But they were there. 2 small sets of palm prints about the size of the hands of a 10-year-old. Had they always been there? Had she somehow just not noticed them when she was shaking out the powder? She knelt down to examine them closely. No, the prints had been pressed into the talc. Sadly, she ran a finger across them, trying to imagine the terror the children must have experienced as their lives were so brutally snuffed out. She blew lightly on the prints, and a small cloud of powder lifted off. It was caught up in the slight morning breeze and began to drift toward the tracks. The next car was in place, sitting patiently. It wouldn't have to wait for long. The children were floating back. That was it for that. Do you guys believe that, or do you think there's some explanation, like somebody said something about gravity or something like that? Because we do have a bridge like that here that I've said before I should go to see. You know, they say you put your car in neutral and you'll be taken up the bridge. It's on one of these back roads over by my parents' house. Hi, Wake Up. How are you? I hope you're doing good. Nice to see you. We'll read 666, The Highway to Hell. Let him who has understanding calculate the number of the beast, for his number is that of a man, and his number is 666. Revelations 13:18. Jason had no idea how long he'd been driving. It seemed like forever. But looking down at his odometer, he realized he'd gone less than 50 miles. However, half of that was negotiating some of the most dangerous mountain curves he'd ever encountered. The switchbacks and hairpin turns on Highway 666 had him traveling at a crawl. Time after time, he had seen breaks in the metal railing. Were they grim remnants of fatal miscalculations, where cars had crashed through the barricades and tumbled to the valley floor thousands of feet below? With a sigh of relief, Jason was out of the hills, and he leveled off on the plateau. He saw nothing but wide, empty space in front of him. It should be smooth, uneventful sailing the rest of the way. It was late, but fortunately, he had gotten out of the mountains by nightfall. He couldn't imagine how treacherous that road would be at night. Glancing in his rearview mirror, Jason noticed the twin beams behind him. From their height, he reckoned they had to be from a tractor trailer. Hi, Jackie Burns. Hi, Ren. Hi, A Heart Made Wise. I think I already said hi, just in case I didn't. Odd, though, that he hadn't seen them before. Surely to be this close to him Probably only a mile or so back, the truck must have been tailing him for the past hour or more. Surely an 18-wheeler would have to struggle even more than he had to keep from plunging over one of the cliffs. But then maybe the truck was farther back than it seemed. After all, they were on a flat mesa. The air was perfectly clear with no haze, and now, with no lights anywhere except for the full moon and the endless mantle of stars overhead, headlights, especially those from a semi, would cut through the dark for miles. Suddenly, the tractor trailer was on him, less than a quarter of a mile behind. How had the semi bridged the gap so quickly? But that was the least of Jason's concerns. To Jason's alarm, he saw that there was no shoulder where he could safely pull off the road. The ground on both sides of the highway was strewn with large rocks scattered between the sagebrush. At this speed, without having time to slow first, simply shooting off to one side would be suicide. He realized that there was nowhere to go but straight ahead. Panicked, he stomped his gas pedal to the floor. The car leaped forward, kicking into overdrive. He had already been traveling comfortably above the speed limit, but now he had no choice but to go faster. 75, 80. Still, the semi was rapidly closing the gap between them. It must have been going over 100 miles an hour. In a flash, the truck was against his bumper. Fear gripped Jason. He was going to die. Ooh, I'm almost half tempted to drive on Stagecoach Road right now. Take you guys out there. Yee! It's the haunted road. Then, about 100 yards ahead, there seemed to be a slight widening to the road. Someone, some blessed unknown soul, had pulled off the road at some point in the past. To change a tire? To catch a few Z's? And the car had left behind a narrow but definite space on the right shoulder. Could he possibly make it that far and live? Why, you think I should? Ren? Davita, no, it's too late. It's only 10:39 here. Ren, yes, please. Okay, as long as I have enough gas in my car. I know I do. Okay, let's do this. Let's do this. Trying to talk myself out of it. Hey, Kevin. Why not by myself, Davita? I'll be going slow on it, Kevin. It's more fun in the nighttime, Jackie. Remember I read about Stagecoach Road? Oh, for the love of Pete, Scooter. You need to be careful. No, not daytime. Yes, Ren, right? It's got to be at night. Okay, I'm doing it. I'm not going to finish this story even. Because we got to get out there. Okay, I have to get off of here. Yeah, I've read to you guys about Stagecoach Road in one of these books. Told you I've been there. lots of times. Okay, I have to go on my phone on regular YouTube. She's sleeping, Davita. I'll ask her if she'll ride with me. I'll wake her up. She's here on the couch. I don't think she will. Give me like 10 minutes or so, if even that. It probably isn't even that much. Okay? I will. I'll be careful. You guys better watch, okay? Okay. Love you. Let's do this thing.